Well, hi, Jack. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch my videos and make a response. And I just thought I'd answer some of your questions here. So your reconstruction of my deconstruction, it seems to go something like this. Since I don't believe in miracles, therefore there must be a naturalistic explanation for something, and therefore yada yada on down the line. So, in point of fact, I wasn't really arguing against the existence of miracles per se. I wasn't really arguing that miracles don't exist. Um, what I was arguing for is simply a very different thesis, actually. Even if miracles exist, even if you don't deny the existence of miracles, basically what I was arguing for was science cannot prove that miracles happened, or the methods of history cannot prove that miracles happened. That was one of the things I was trying to prove, but that was actually the least important thing that I was trying to prove. The most important thing I was trying to establish was a different thesis altogether. The most important thing I was trying to prove is there is a way to actually prove the claims of Christianity, but I don't see that proof either. I don't know. I'm just a creature of PowerPoint, so it'll be easier for me to explain this if we go over to the blackboard. So yeah, a brief restatement of the thesis one, which really is the least important thesis that I'm trying to prove, right? Miracles might happen. I mean, sure they might, okay, but neither science nor history can prove that miracles happen. Now, this really is nothing more than a statement of humility, really, on the part of somebody who uses science a lot. I mean, science is not omniscient, omnipotent, or whatever, right? I mean, science has real and genuine limitations, and we can't try to use it for more than what it's going to give us, right? And this is really a well nigh universally accepted point. I mean, by both secular and religious thinkers. David Hume was, of course, the guy who invented this argument, but it's universally held, almost universally held among theologians. I just put two names here: Albert Schweitzer, who is a Protestant theologian, and Luke Timothy Johnson, who is a Catholic theologian. Are both strongly agree with this. However, there is a loud but vocal minority who disagree with this. C.S. Lewis and Swinburne come to mind. So, if you want to look into this yourself and do some more research, these are the guys you want to Google for. So, just research it yourself and make up your own mind. But I mean, this is the reason why I basically agree with all these smart people as with regards to thesis number one. I mean, informally, it can be stated very easily. I mean, have you ever gone to see a magician and come away thinking, "Wow, I just witnessed a miracle"? No. I mean, and why not? I mean, because no matter how amazing the trick, no matter how unbelievable it looks, it's just always more plausible to think that it was an illusion than a miracle actually happened. I mean, and this is true not just for something that you read about in a book that's 2,000 years old. I mean, this is, even if you see it with your own eyes, it's just always more plausible to think that it was an illusion. Now, apparently, I didn't do a very good job at all with my twin hypothesis thing. Okay, so let me just recap it here, and maybe I can do a better job of being more explicit about what I was trying to accomplish with this example. So we have two different hypotheses for why the apostles believe in the resurrection, right? So the evidence we have is that the apostles genuinely believed in the resurrection. So we have two hypotheses to try and explain this. One is the twin hypothesis, and one is that Jesus was actually dead for 3 days and came back to life. Okay, now, important note. I'm not saying that the twin thing is true or happened. Actually, in point of fact, I don't believe this twin thing happened, right? The reason I chose the twin hypothesis was precisely because it was the most improbable thing, right? It was the most improbable yet still physically possible theory that I could think of. Okay, I can think of more plausible explanations. Okay, so for example, the Roman authorities did not know what Jesus looked like. they needed a guy on the inside to deliver Jesus over to them, right? So that's why they bribed Judas, right? So I mean, there's another alternate explanation. What if Judas, was in cahoots with Jesus on this, and Judas actually led the stormtroopers to a stooge who really wasn't Jesus, and said, okay, this guy over here, this stooge is Jesus, and the stormtroopers take the stooge away and crucify him, while Jesus lays low for a couple of days. And then, Jesus comes out afterwards, appears to his disciples, and, says, go forth and convert the world. And then he kind of gets the hell out of Dodge because the Romans are going to catch him if he stays around. So, Jesus kind of expatriates to India or someplace like that. And the rest is history. This one is much more plausible than the twin hypothesis, right? I mean, the only two people that would have to be in on it would be, Judas and Jesus, right? And please don't think I'm arguing for the reality of the twin hypothesis. I'm just not. So we have two alternate hypotheses here. We have hypothesis T, the twin hypothesis. We have hypothesis R, the resurrection hypothesis. So, and yes, I completely agree. Hypothesis T, the twin hypothesis, is completely ludicrous. It's almost impossible to believe. And in fact, I deliberately chose a hypothesis which was A, as hard to believe as possible, as implausible as possible, but yet B, still physically possible. I mean, it could have happened. As hard as it is to believe, it could have happened. It violates no known laws of nature or society or anything, right? I mean, it could have happened, right? So here's the kicker, right? The real kicker is the following, right? The evidence that we have for the resurrection is that the apostles believed in the resurrection and went around telling everybody that there was a resurrection, right? So that's essentially the evidence that we have. But the kicker is that evidence, okay, is very good evidence for the resurrection, but it is equally as good evidence for the twin hypothesis, right? And the twin hypothesis, as ludicrous as it is, and as hard to believe as it is, it does have one thing going for it. I mean, it violates no known laws of nature, right? I mean, yes, it's hard to believe that a twin could, fool Jesus and his closest associates their entire life, right? I mean, that's very hard to believe. But how hard is it to believe that some guy actually came back from the dead, right? Simple proof of this, right, is there are many Roman sources claiming that people came back from the dead. We don't believe those either, right? So, it's really as simple as that. But, that having been said, I don't believe it's irrational to believe that Jesus Christ came back from the dead. You've been called delusional. I think that's not the case. I mean, I don't think it's irrational. How I would characterize it is, I would characterize it as faithful, okay? It's a matter of faith that Jesus Christ came back from the dead. It is not a matter of proof. The methods of science have real, genuine limitations. We have to be very honest about these limitations. One of the limitations is science and history are just too wimpy to prove the resurrection. Period. Okay? But, as I said, that was the least important thesis that I was trying to prove. Right? The real thesis that I was trying to prove, I think, is much more important. Okay? Just because the methods of science and history can't prove something doesn't mean it can't be proven at all. Right? I think there is a way to prove. I mean, it's not like the truth of the resurrection couldn't be established by other means, non-historical means, non-scientific means, right? So it looks like I'm pretty much out of time for this video. So what I will do is I'll talk about Thesis 2 in a companion video to this one, because I do want to elaborate on that a little more at length, because I do think it is the more important of the two hypotheses. So I'll see you there.